Hello and welcome to another lighting diagram lesson. My name is Trenton Hoshiko, and today we're talking about this photograph by Sweta Dilly from Pexels. Before I get started, if you've been here before, you probably know this, but I have a free template for making diagrams in Draw.io, which is a free and open source diagramming software. And you can get that template without having to sign up, without having to log in, without having to do anything, completely free from my Patreon. The direct link is down in the video's description, so you can find that easily. I just want to help people out in getting started making lighting diagrams for their filmmaking, cinematography, and photography work so they can communicate better their ideas to their team members and also practice themselves how the lighting will work and how layouts can be used to create different lighting ideas for various scenes. So in terms of this photo itself, it's relatively simple. We don't have a huge amount of things going on here, but one thing that I wanted to talk about with it is that we have very even soft light. Even though there is a direction from it, it wraps around really beautifully, and we are getting this nice image that is also not flat because that lighting is, behind the camera or something like that. We have our light coming from right to left. You can tell this because of the fall off from right to left. And also the shape of the shadows. We have a shadow right here after this wrinkle. So this wrinkle is blocking the light from the right side. You can also tell that just much more subtly on the cup itself. We have a bright side right here on the right, and we have a little bit darker on the left. But the actual contrast between these two is relatively small, unlike a lot of the things that we talk about, in these lighting diagrams. This is very, very even, high key lighting. And I think it suits this photo and the mood that we're going for here really well. This is supposed to be happy and exciting, and it's not so dramatic. And we want to see the, cup that is being painted here really clearly. We do have a little bit of like overexposure kind of look on the sleeve on the left, and we have a slightly underexposed look on the sleeve on the right. And that's because the sleeve on the right is in the shadow. The light hasn't wrapped all the way around there. And the sleeve on the right side of the frame is closer to the light. So that just, makes sense. Just like the cup here, we do have that same look around the stand that's right here. We do get a little bit of light back across this person's knuckles right here, where it's just almost like a little bit of an edge light. And so I want to talk about how we can add some light back into this from the other side. But I think we're going to need to have a large light source. And so let's just start by taking our floor plan tools and making a small set space. If you were filming like a commercial for a pottery studio, this would probably be, the kind of look that you're going for. You want something that is positive, high key, very clear in what we're showing off. And you don't need a lot of contrast. You don't need a huge amount of shape, but you just need to control your light enough to, have everything shown all at the same time without harsh shadows or any aggressive lighting. We just want this to be soft and gentle feeling. To me, I like pottery a lot. It's kind of a meditative process, and I feel like this lighting matches that idea. It's very soothing. I don't know what the wall or space, looks behind the person. We're not seeing that at all. All of our focus is on the cup and the hand going into the cup with the paintbrush and the hand holding right here. Everything is just in this area. We don't know anything about the space behind the person or, whatever. So I'm just going to put them a couple feet out from the wall because I think that's generally how people would sit in this kind of space. And there's a couple different ideas that I have here. I think the probably easiest way to get this much soft lighting would be to use a very large diffusion sheet, something like a 6x6. If you have an actual 6x6 silk or other diffusion material on a 6x6 frame, I think that would be really quite effective with this. We're going to take that kind of 4x4 look and make it into a 6x6 here. You could be using a 6x6 silk. You could be using a shower curtain that is a frosted material to diffuse your light. You could be using the inner core of a 5-in-1 reflector because that is basically a one-stop silk. And, kind of already comes with its frame, is really compact. I love that technique. I use that all the time for micro budget stuff. And so whatever you have here, you're having a like roughly 6 foot piece of diffusion to light. And we're going to put that pretty close to the person. I did realize that I didn't actually pull up a table. So let me grab a table. And I know that they're not working on a plant, but we're going to use a plant right here just, to have something for the visual sake. So this is kind of our setup here with our 6x6-ish piece of diffusion. If you are curious about various types of cheap diffusion, I have a few videos about that. I can put those in the video's description, including shower curtains and that inner core for the 5-in-1 reflector. I love that trick because it's so easy and compact and relatively affordable compared to having a full 6x6. It's not as easy to use. You definitely lose some of the functionality of a true 6x6, but that ease of use and that cost, just makes it really perfect for micro budget filmmakers. So you would have something like this over here. And the goal in my mind is to have it to the side of the person and also wrapping as much as possible around the front of this table. So we're going to put that like just pretty much right there. Maybe the edge of the table is right here. It could be as simple as that. And we're going to have it at a slight angle to help it just kind of wrap around the person's arm on frame right, but their left side, and have it go all the way around because we don't have any harsh shadows. To light something like this, you'd need at least one powerful lamp. If you were going to use something like the GVM P80S or probably even the SD80D from GVM, you probably would actually need 2 lamps, but that shouldn't be a problem if you're using a big piece of diffusion. You're not going to get 2 different beams or anything like that. And so what would that give us? That would give us really soft, spread out light. Now, you might be thinking, well, is this going to actually wrap enough to get all the way to the other side? Probably not, in my opinion. So I would then take a bounce, which could be another one of these like 6-foot reflectors, and use that white side of it to just take it and capture some of that light and bounce it straight back into the scene that we have here. And so we'll just make another light path, and that'll just add some of that light back in, but it will be less light than off of the diffusion here, and so you will get a little bit more of a shadowed look. And that's exactly what we want. This being a little bit further away from the person, you can rotate this depending exactly on how much you want this going forward into them. With how this wrinkle works and how this shadow works, it does feel like this might be a little bit further this way, maybe a little bit more parallel to them, but still really long. And this is the kind of look that you could get from a big, large window on a bright but overcast day. You don't have to use lighting for something like this if you have a space that's working for you. But if we're planning on lighting it, this is kind of how it would work. If this was just a big window, we'd have to make sure that maybe we would have to have diffusion on the window itself to soften that light some, but you might have the whole space reflecting light if this was a white wall or something like that. Back over into our subject. So I'd say that this is probably the easiest and cheapest method to do something like this if you're having to light it. You'd need at least 1 lamp. If you do have a less powerful lamp, you probably would need 2. And then you would need some sort of 6x6 diffusion and some sort of 6x6 bounce. Like I said, both of these could be 5-in-1 reflectors, this just being the core, this one being the white side. If that's the case, then you're talking like, $150 for your diffusion and bounce materials, and then whatever the cost of your lamp is. That's not too bad to get our lighting. Well, let's talk about some other aspects of this, because we could also do this with, instead of the diffusion, if we didn't have that, we could use something like a lantern. Now, a lantern is going to get us omnidirectional light, but it will not be as spread because of its size as something like this diffusion. So you might get more shadow to a degree, depending exactly on the angle you have. If you had it all the way over here, you would definitely be getting more shadow on the far side. Having it still at the corner, roughly in the same place that we put that 6x6 diffusion, to me, gives us the better chance of having that wrap around. And so you could do something like this and have it be pretty effective. Once again, still using that bounce, and we might even just pull that in a little bit forward to make sure that we're getting that light pushed back in and capturing as much as possible. So something like this is possible in that way. If you wanted to just be able to dial it in, it might look a little less natural depending exactly on how you have it set up. But you could, in theory, also just do this with another lantern. You could just have two lanterns, one a little bit further away, or, you know, if you have a dimmer on your lamp, you could just turn it down slightly. But something along this line where you do have this omnidirectional light going both directions. And these shadows aren't super dense, so it's okay to have that fill light coming in and filling those in just a little bit, so that they aren't really, really dark, because that's part of this higher key look. Even in this case, if you had the two lamps, you could then still use some bounce back in. The cost of a lantern is similar to the cost of a 5-in-1 reflector. It might be a little bit more, but the cost of a lantern is going to be less money than a true 6x6 silk. So there's a couple different options here. If you already have the 5-in-1 reflector, this is a great method. If you already have the lantern, this might be a great method. This one down here is going to cost more because you have to have two lanterns and two lamps. This method could be done with one lamp if you have a powerful enough lamp. This method is done with one lamp, and so this one might be the cheapest option, or this one might be the cheapest option, depending on what equipment you have access to. This one would cost a little bit more, and I don't think I'd like the look of this one quite as much. I think I love the look of that bounced light coming back in. I love the lanterns. I think they're great. They really are great for filling things in, but it's a little bit omnidirectional overall, where if we're just bouncing light that we already have in the scene, that's generally what I prefer, but to each their own. The main thing that we're looking for here is to make sure our frame right has the light coming in and being a little hot, and our frame left has our light exiting and falling off and being a little dim, while we have the center being properly exposed with a lovely gentle wrap across our main subject, which is the cup, the stand, and these hands. And I think that any of these could get you a look that's like that. Depending exactly how and where you place this bounce will determine whether or not it's able to bounce a little bit of light back onto the back of the hand here. There's not an incredibly strong edge light or anything like that to it, but just providing a little bit light back into the backs of the hands is part of that fill, as I've talked about. This one down here might be most effective for something like that, where you can just put this bounce opposite of the lantern. In this case, between the lantern and the bounce, you might be getting too much light to have this be that subtle shadow. We want to focus on the wrap more than we want to focus on the fill, in my opinion. That's something that an image like this would help us be able to practice. But so there we have it. We have 3 different ways to light a scene like this gentle and kind of meditative photo right here. As I said at the beginning, if you want to get my free Filmmaker Tools template, it's available on my Patreon. That link is down in the description. While you're there, if you want to join, I have free and paid tiers that start at just $2. The paid tiers help support these lighting diagrams as well as my regular cinematography videos. Thank you so much to everybody who's gone over there and joined already, either as a free or paid member. I really appreciate your support. If you like this video, please give it a like down below. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm and reaching new viewers who also like these kinds of lighting diagram and art breakdown videos. If you want to see more, please do subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,500 subscribers. I'm super excited to have so many people already on the journey with me. If you have any questions about Draw.io, diagramming, or the setup that I'm talking about here, please do leave those in the comments down below. I love it when people comment on my videos. And if you want to pick up any of the equipment that we've been talking about for your own lighting kit, I have affiliate links down in the video's description that help support the channel at no additional cost to you. This week, take a few minutes to enjoy some art that you really, really love. Whether or not that's paintings, whether or not that's drawings, digital or physical, whether that's going to a museum or using open access art online to travel to pretty much any museum in the world to view some of the most amazing paintings out there. It could be watching a movie, it could be playing a video game. Whatever it is, engage with some art this week, engage with the expressive nature, and take a moment to appreciate how it expresses people's feelings and emotions and the things that they go through in their lives and their humanity. That's something that I never want to have lost in discussions of, technical setups, is these are all ideas of how to make art, and we make art to express humanity, whatever humanity we're feeling. Take care of yourselves, take care of people around you, take care of your community, and most of all, I hope you have a wonderful week ahead of you. Peace.